The world of science and the realms of mysticism are usually facing one another from opposite corners of the knowledge arena. However, in recent years, with the advancement of quantum physics and the dropping of the mystic's veil of secrecy, part of some of the alternative steps to a melding of these two knowledges have occurred. In the avant-garde of this is Jack Houck, one of our nation's leading researchers into the paranormal. Jack has a Master of Science degree, and by day he's a systems analyst for one of our country's leading aerospace companies. And at night, he plies his hobby of paranormal investigation. Can we all welcome Jack Houck?
Thank you, Lois.
Well, you're quite welcome. Now, one thing that sort of interests me is you have a master's degree in science.
Yes.
How did you get into spoon bending?
Well, I'm going to explain that.
Okay.
And I'd like to open the party that we're going to have tonight by my customary welcome to PK party number 238.
238.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Okay. What that means is this is the 238th time that I've led a group in a metal bending experience. And those of you in the audience at home, I'd like you to participate in this event. The group here in the studio, we're all going to learn to bend tonight, and I'd like you to get some of your very old, not matching silverware, and you can participate as well. 10 years ago, this month, I started the first PK party. We call it PK party because, first of all, you've already heard PK stands for Psychokinesis, or mind over matter, and party stands for having a party. What we're going to do tonight is try to have a wild party here in the studio and use that energy that's in the party environment to help us create the right conditions for experiencing metal bending. Now, it's not just about metal bending, it's really about learning the technique to apply your mind. There's very simple steps, which I'll go through in a few moments, and then we'll all get into doing it ourselves. The way I got into this type of research was basically I read about a phenomena called remote viewing, which is sending your mind out to remote places on Earth, which at the time I thought that was incredibly impossible. But since then I've run experiments, and sure enough, as the Stanford research people, Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, they did a lot of research, and they established it as being a real phenomenon. I have replicated a lot of their experiments, and yes, it works. But it was in trying to explain how remote viewing works that I discovered that you can teach everybody and anybody to do the PK themselves. And I'm going to just spend a moment talking about that. I found that people doing remote viewing would access information at a time when a peak emotional event occurred, not necessarily the current time. And as I would explain that, I was basically saying that if you deliberately create a peak emotional event at the current time, you can get paranormal events to happen. And someone challenged me to test that idea, and it was 10 years ago today, or this month, that I got a group together of 21 people at my home and said, let's deliberately create a peak emotional event and see if we can apply it to bending silverware. Well, I passed out my grandparents' antique silverware. It's all been dedicated to science now. And we sat around. A man named Severin Dahlin gave the instructions, which I'm going to use tonight, and they're very simple. But we were all laughing, as many of you are probably doing right now, and thinking this is impossible. But as we chuckled and laughed, all of a sudden one young man began to have his fork slowly bend over. And he started screaming, because that's sort of an unusual experience. And we all of us in the room saw this fork falling over, and with him screaming. As I looked around the room, I could see the people's eyes were just huge, and I now like to call that an instant belief system change. So, but then the bizarre thing happened that everybody else in the room began to find that the silverware they were holding became soft in their hands, and I now call that losing the structure, and it felt warm to them. And the next thing you knew, they were twirling these pieces of silverware around in their fingers and creating a lot of art forms, so bent up silverware. And we now call that kindergarten bending. And we've actually named it warm forming. So when the metal gets a little warm, we form it. And in kindergarten, we create this type of artwork. It's really not good for much, except it is a feedback. It's like biofeedback, where when something begins to get soft, we say push it a little bit, maybe 1/10 of the force it would have taken to bend it physically. And then the amazing thing, you'll begin to find this stuff actually feeling like rubber, and you'll be twisting it around and just creating trophies. And those of you that bend these tonight, you can take home and put on your mantle or hang up for wind chimes or whatever, these trophies. Not good for much other than cheese balls and olives at parties, but it is a feedback. That is, when you begin to yourself feeling it get soft, then you'll know that it's losing its structure. Now, tonight we'll move from kindergarten through high school bending, and then do graduate school at the end of the show. And hopefully by then you all have learned how to simply apply these steps to your own life and achieve your goals. And I mean, you don't really have to use it for metal bending. You can use it in many aspects of your life. So once each of you have bent 4 or 5 pieces of the kindergarten silverware, then we'll move to high school. Okay, now my friends Marshall and Sterling will help each of you getting through kindergarten and give you the high school things. Now, high school I define as bending things that are not bendable by physical force, and you'll do quite a bit of that tonight. These are some examples. This is one of my favorite, this old hacksaw blade, very brittle. And what happens is when it gets warm on the inside, it becomes annealed, and it just simply, you can put it in spirals, which normally, you know, old hacksaw blades would just break if you pushed on it a little bit. The thing we find that a lot of people enjoy are bending the bowls of spoons. Now, here are some that have been bent at other parties. Buckling the bowl of a spoon is, I consider, a significant event. It's the shell structure of the bowl is very strong. I taught aeronautical engineering at the University of Michigan, and in the structures we learned about how strong these bowls really are. And so tonight, with just your fingers, you'll be able to buckle the bowl, and if you do that, you get an award. The award is a certified warm former button, now, as well as getting to keep the spoon, of course. And what I find is that people like to have the buckled spoon, and then they put their certified warm former button in it like this, and then they have a nice holder for it for the mantle or the toilet, whatever. So in high school it's kind of fun because, like I say, buckling the bowl of these spoons is significant. You get a certified warm former badge, and you can again, have that as a trophy. Those of you at home, don't buckle the sterling silverware. It's not worth that. Grab a stainless bowl out of your drawer. Now, here in the group, we're going to use stainless. I have a whole box full of forged stainless steel silverware, and this works the best for kindergarten. So if you're going to participate in home, get an old stainless forged spoon or fork. I don't like you to use knives because we've found that sometimes they break and cut people, and I don't want that to happen. So, but the stainless works the best for kindergarten. Actually, the best for high school is a silver-plated spoon. And if you find yourself working real hard on a stainless spoon, ask one of the people here, and they'll give you a silver-plated one. I brought a whole bunch of silver-plated bowls so you could do that tonight. Then, after most people have achieved that, we'll move into graduate school. In graduate school, I'll sort of stop the party and pass out a special set of forks. Now, the reason they're special is that I have personally made sure that the tines were straight and it looks like a normal fork. So at least I will know how much it's bent. And in graduate school, we simply hold the forks in our hands like this, and we command them to bend. And often, about 10 to 15% of the times, we get enough movement where you can actually see. Like these were normal forks, and they simply fell over like this, and they typically twist a little bit as well. We never know for sure how the fork's going to move. It's because of the internal stress in the fork and the amount of dislocations that are there. But these are about as good as they get. I like to tell the story about how a man in downtown Los Angeles was sitting there in graduate school looking at his forks, and he started concentrating on the one in his right hand. And I'll explain in a few minutes that it doesn't take a lot of concentration. But he was looking at the one in his right hand, and I happened to be across the room and saw the one in his left hand slowly bending over by itself. But he didn't see it, so I went over and I said to him, "Did you see the one in your left hand?" And he looked at it and he said, "Wow, how did that happen?" And at that moment, the one in his right hand just fell over. Now that gets to a point in one of the steps that I think is the most significant. But let me back up for a second and say that we're going to do 3 steps tonight. They're not easy. I'm sorry, they're not hard. And you don't have to bother writing them down because we'll review that. Now, first step is making a mental connection with your mind to what you're trying to affect. Tonight we're going to work on the silverware or these rods down here. These are high school rods, by the way. All of them are beyond just physically being able to bend them. They're cut to a length that keep that from happening. If you really get good, tonight I have this special bar that 1.25 inch diameter, and we might give it a whirl. But I have personally seen a lot of small ladies and children bend 1/2 inch steel rods. So I usually bring a couple of them along so that you can try to do that. Okay, the first step is this mental connection. That's easy. We do it all the time. When we think about something, you make that mental connection. The second step is a command or intent. And we do that all the time in our society. We're used to commanding things to happen. So tonight, for the command, we're simply going to shout, bend, the goal. Okay, so, and all of you can do that real well, I'm sure, and it's going to get noisy, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing that. And finally, and the most importantly, is the let go step. That's where, like in my example of the man, where when he turned his attention away from the fork in his right hand, that's when it happened. That is the thing that we're not well trained to do in our society. So one of the things I want you to go away from tonight is learning to experience that things happen when you let them happen, when you let go. And it's the most common way people talk about that is thinking about it as a thought form, as they put that thought out and then they release it. That's when things can happen like this. So tonight we'll try to create a lot of distractions. As you might expect, the children have a lot of distractions, and they are absolutely incredible, as you'll see tonight. I also find that over 65 crowd is very good at this, and that's because they have lived their lives and they don't have to prove anything to anybody, and they just let go, and it makes it real easy. So learning to let go is the secret of how to do this tonight. And we'll make that environment easy for us, because all of you, I just want you to have fun, and usually if yours is bending, if yours begins to get soft and you're bending it up, shout, yell, jump up and down, scream, do anything to help draw attention to you, because what you're really doing is helping the other people. So once yours is bending, just wrap it up into crazy shapes and then let everybody know. Because if you're over here looking, you essentially look over there, and that causes this release step. And so that'll help the people release over here. And the more pandemonia that we can create, that means you really shout and let her rip, the better it works. And I'm hoping tonight that all of you will learn how to do this. And I think with that, I'll go into actually the awards. Now, here in the studio, we have two special gifts that I give for coming to a PK party. One of those you'll be able to use at home easily. And the first one is something that a few people can use because it applies to the stock market. And I learned about this years ago when a man named Eldenberg went to Japan. He did a PK party on Japanese television, much like we're doing tonight. He told the people that, gather their silverware and chopsticks and what have you, and that if the TV station put cameras out all over Tokyo and said, if something bends, go out and show the camera. They reported 6 to 20 million people coming out into the streets with all their bent up chopsticks and everything. And so that was a big event, and hopefully you folks, if you have a really good experience, will somehow get back to the station and tell them about it. So the tip is buy stock in silverware companies, because obviously as more and more people have this happen, lots of silverware gets used up. The second thing that I'll show you tonight is how to do dowsing. Now, we use dowsers here in the studio because we're going to test the silverware to see if it's willing to bend for you tonight. Now, 10 years ago, I had a hard time saying that, because that somehow attributes consciousness to these spoons and forks. But tonight, just go along with it. That's the way it works the best. And what we're going to do is we have these Japanese dowsing rods here in the studio that Sterling and I make. Now, the dowsing rod is simply a rod and with a ball in the end, and it's extremely sensitive because the way it works is the mind goes out, gets information, and comes down through your subconscious and autonomic nervous system, and little twitches in your hand make the rod go. And so it responds through your subconscious. You try not to affect it deliberately. Now, Marshall is going to show us how to use a pendulum. Now, it's easy to make a pendulum by using your necklace, and you can simply hold it. Now this is a real cheap pendulum because it's just string and one of these little wood balls. But you can use whatever kind of pendulum in the same way that Marshall's going to do. And what we're going to do is demonstrate how to get yes and no answers from these dowsing instruments. And the way you do it, in the case of the dowsing rod, is simply aim your thumb through the coil here and push a little bit. And we're all going to do this in a few minutes, so I want you to pay attention. And then you have to say to it, please show me yes. So, and it starts to move. Now, Marshall does...
Please show me yes.
So you can see that my rod is moving in a clockwise direction, and his is moving clockwise. It doesn't have to move clockwise. It can go back and forth or do anything else, but this is pretty typical. So whatever direction it moves for you is yes. And then you say to it, stop.
Stop.
And then say, please show me no.
Please show me no.
And it usually goes the opposite direction of whatever yes was, okay? And so the first thing you'll do is find out what yes is for your instrument and no is. And then what we do is, can you hang on to that for a second? You take 4 or 5 pieces of silverware. And you'll test the silverware in the manner that Marshall and I are going to show you right now. What you'll do if you have the rod, you'll touch it and be sure to lift it up. I have more people trying to do this with it still touching, and that doesn't work too well. So then you say to the piece of silverware, are you willing to bend for me tonight? And you can see clearly that mine says yes.
Are you willing to bend for me tonight? Uh-oh. That's a no.
That says no. Now, if it says no, then put it back in the pile and take another one and keep doing that till you have 4 or 5 that say yes. Whew! It said yes. Okay. So what I'd like everybody to do quickly is grab a dowsing rod, find out what yes and no is for you, okay, and then take 4 or 5 pieces of silverware.
While these soon-to-be spoon benders use their dowsing rods to choose a few spoons, we would like to give our TV audience a chance to participate. So now is the time to get some of your own silverware. Remember, not the family heirlooms. And stay tuned for more of Exploring the New Age. We're going to see what our next step is here.
Okay, now everybody just put all of them down but one fork or spoon. And I want you to, after I tell you to release, the way you hold it is simply put your thumb on the neck of the fork or spoon and hold it like that. Okay, and what you'll be feeling for is some warmth coming out. When it begins to get warm or sticky, then you simply push a little bit. Not now, but when it begins to get warm, and then simply push the head over, and if you have something that wants to come around to the side, by taking it around, round and around and around, that gets to be a lot of fun. And remember, when it's going, you start screaming and shouting and let everybody know. Okay, it's real important. And so the more commotion that we can create, the better it works. Okay? All right. Now let me do it first, and then we'll all do it together. I will say, get a point of concentration in your head. That's easy. You just imagine getting a point of concentration in your head. This is the only time it takes for concentration. And I will say some other things about that. And then when I say grab it, you just mentally grab it and bring it down through your neck, down through your shoulder, down through your arm, into your hand, and put it into the silverware. Now that makes your mental connection that I talked about. Then I will say, when I count to 3, we'll all command it to bend by shouting, bend, 3 times, okay? And bend, bend, bend. And we'll all do that together, and I'll be your cheerleader. And then finally, I will say, release it, okay? And when I say that, you just mentally blip out and then go into this where you're holding it and testing it occasionally. And then, of course, pretty soon somebody's will bend, and then all the shouting and carrying on, okay? And you would just do that, and we'll give you the silver-plated spoons when you get ready for high school, and then I'll let you know when we're ready for graduate school, okay? So is everybody ready? Yeah! Okay. Everybody hold it up like this. Get a point of concentration in your head. Focus it. Make it very intense. Bring it to a point. Now grab it. Bring it down through your neck, down through your shoulder, down through your arm, into your hand, and put it into the silverware where you want it to bend. And when I count to 3, we'll all command it to bend by shouting bend 3 times. 1, 2, 3, bend! Bend! Now let it happen. Release. Go test it, test it, test it. There it goes. Go ahead, take it around. That's it. All right. Right away. All right. Go ahead. Keep it going. Let's get some noise going here, folks. Go on, that's it. Put it around. Bend, bend. Come on. You don't have time. You're on TV. You got to go. Get in a hurry. Bend it around. Bend it around. Grab another one. Bend it around. Grab another one. Take it around. Take it around. All the way around. Go on. Bend, bend, bend. Grab another one. Twist it all the way around. I want to see it. Yeah, pull it aside right there. Come on, let's go. We got to move along here. See, get a different one, but this will go later. Okay, just put that on your lap and then grab another one. Come on, come on, come on, come on. It's ready, ready, ready to go. It's almost ready to go. Grab another one. Okay, grab one. Okay, bend. Take it around. Bend, bend. Okay, bend. All right. Okay, that's it. Just pull it to the side so it doesn't bump into the head. That's it. Here we go. All right. That's a stubborn one. Let me see a different one. See that spoon? That looks good. Yeah, try any one you want. Okay. Okay, now look here. Here, do this one for the camera. Where's the?
Everybody who's meant a spoon.
Okay, I want him to see this. You want to buckle this on TV?
I don't think I can.
Come up here.
No.
Put those down.
Go.
Hey, are you strong? Are you strong? Huh?
I don't think I can.
All right.
Go do it.
Come on, this is a good one. This will do it. Who's brave?
She will. She will.
Come on, right here. Come on.
Come on, let's go.
Put your fingers in the bowl, and when we count to 3, we're going to buckle it.
You can't do it.
Don't say can't. You're going to get ready, and we're going to crank up the energy. Okay, ready? Big breath. Buckle! Buckle! Go on, buckle it! You're on TV! Buckle! Buckle! That's it! Okay! All right! There she goes. See, gang, that's all it took. You ready for it? You ready? Who's got a camera? You got a camera on her? You want to buckle that? Okay. Just put your fingers in there so it doesn't hurt your fingernail, okay? Say 1, 2, 3. Think like a Hulk. You're the Hulk now. Buckle! Okay, buckle. That's it. That's it. That's it. Look at that. Piece of cake. All right. Nothing to it. Did you get a badge? Okay. Do you have a badge for over here? Who's got the badges? All my helpers are. Zip. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Congratulations. Now you can bend the handle down so that just like this. Like this. Right. Oh, buckle. That's right. Buckle.
There you go.
Here, buckle that. Show him real quick. Bang! That's it. Nothing to it. Look, you just have to talk to it. Did you want to do one? I got one here. Now watch her. That's it. Huh? Hey, do you want to do this?
Buckle!
You ready? Watch this. Watch this. But you'll have to pretend like you're the Hulk, you know, and get a little strong. Say, one. We're all going to shout buckle at once. 1, 2, 3. Buckle! Bam! Come on! Buckle! Buckle!
Stand over there. Doesn't want to go.
Doesn't want to go? Okay, now just stay with it for a little bit. You can go back to this a little while, but I'd like to go on to graduate school, everybody. Okay? Was that fun in high school and kindergarten? All right. Okay, now these are the special forks in this box, and I need every one of you to come up and get 2 of them. Okay? Don't let me, just come up and reach in and get 2 forks, and don't touch the tops. Just hold them at the bottoms like this. Put the forks down on the floor for a moment. And rub your hands this way, like so. Okay, this is another form of warm forming. You're warming up your hands. Okay. Now pick up the forks. And we're going to go through the same exercise together, and we'll all do it together right off the bat. Same thing we did at the beginning. Is everybody ready? Got 2 forks? Okay. Now you have to be a little stronger, so you take a big breath. Okay. Now get a point of concentration in your head. Focus it. You're going to make it very intense. Now grab it, bring it down through your neck, down through both shoulders, down through both arms, into your hands, and put it into the forks. And when I count to 3, we'll all command them to bend by shouting, bend 3 times. 1, 2, 3, bend! 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 Now release it. Just let it happen. Look at your neighbors, but don't touch the tops, okay? You can also tell jokes. You've done the hard part. Let them fall, let them move by themselves. Usually it takes a couple minutes before they get going. Okay, so what? Every once in a while, look back at your forks and let me know if any's starting to bend.
Bend.
That's right. Yours is bending?
Bend.
Good.
Come on, bend. Bend.
Just let it
Bend.
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 Bend. Bend. Bend. Bend. Bend.
Okay, bending. Wait a minute, I'll get through here. Hey, did it do it all by itself?
Yeah.
That's impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah. This one.
Hey, watch out for that. All right, that is good. That's real good.
Oh my God.
Doesn't
that make you feel powerful?
Happy. You can apply this to your life. You know, you can make yourself do anything.
This one was straight.
That's good. That's good.
See, if you can bend the
It's
fork,
done a dipsy doodle. Well, it's all right. You'll be able to do it at home.
say that.
Well, everybody, I hope you people at home are having some successful bends as well. We're having a lot of good bending here at the studio, and you can do it there as well. Be sure when you try it by yourselves that you create a big peak emotional event. That's one of the keys, and this step, you remember the 3 steps, making the mental connection, commanding it to happen, and then letting go. I think a lot of people here tonight learned about the letting go step. That's really the most important. We're not trained how to do that in our society, so practice it. Learn to let go, and things will happen in your life. Know that they'll happen. Usually at the end of the party, I say, apply this to your own life. You can achieve your goals using the same 3 steps. You can do anything with these simple 3 steps. So Usually within 2 weeks of the PK party, something will happen in your life where you can actually apply this. So please do that, and remember that this is just that we use the silverware and the metal for feedback so that we can actually see that it's happening in front of your own eyes. Now you know that it's happening, know you can apply your mind, and then go out there and do it. Apply your mind to your life.
And here's our Warm Formers Parade, with each displaying their newfound ability to perform psychokinesis. Until next we meet again, we'll be leaving you with the memory of these. Remember, you can do this too. You can do anything you set your mind to.